Welcome back to AskPrebuilt, the series where I answer your questions about 7 Days to Die, other games, and just whatever you want to know about, I guess. If you want your question answered in the next video, be sure to put AskPrebuilt in the comments somewhere so that I can search for it easily. Let's get started. David Hatcher starts us off with biomes of different difficulty and loot bonuses. From a risk/reward viewpoint, which biome do you think is the best for looting? So for those of you unaware, the biome you are in will give you a loot boost. The forest has no loot boost, the desert will give you a 50% loot stage boost plus 10, the snow will give you a 100% loot stage boost plus 20, the wasteland will give you 150% plus 30. The best loot is in the wasteland and the worst loot is in the forest. Now as for which one is the best, in my opinion, it is just the wasteland. The loot boost there is pretty huge, and if you have a gun and a vehicle and you follow the 3 rules of the wasteland, you should be fine. Now those 3 rules are: Rule 1, leave at night. The wasteland is extra dangerous at night as zombies continuously respawn and are more dangerous. So until you are properly kitted out for nighttime wasteland combat, I would just leave and go do something else in another biome for the night. Rule 2, never drive off the road. There are landmines first of all, but there's also a lot of debris which will slow down and damage your vehicle, which is going to become even more of a pain in Alpha 21. Those vehicles are going to be made out of paper. And rule 3, beware the bear. Zombie bears are the single most dangerous enemies in the wasteland and they spawn all over the place. If you hear a bear in the wasteland, be ready to leave because they will kill you very, very quickly and they have insane amounts of health. Now, that's the best from a risk/reward viewpoint, but the desert biome is also very good in my opinion, because it's honestly easier to survive than the forest biome aside from gathering wood. You use more water from overheating in the desert, but there's water plants naturally growing everywhere, and lakes and ponds and stuff aren't any rarer in the desert. You might find yourself taking more damage from things like coyotes, snakes and vultures. Again, the ground is covered in healing items in the form of aloe, so if you can get yourself the first aid bandage recipe, you can make yourself a million first aid bandages, absolutely no problem. On top of that, bears and direwolves are much rarer. So there's more small, easy to kill enemies like snakes to eat. There's also oil shale, and you get a free 50% loot stage boost for no extra difficulty, at least in my opinion. The snow would be the least worthwhile. There's far too many direwolves, bears and mountain lions. They'd really be worth living in or looting. It's good for hunting big game or turning snowballs into water, but I avoid living or looting there. So live in the desert and loot in the wasteland. Danny Dreams wants to know, hey, do you know if the ball cap mod works for the club magazine with the bonus damage resist for wearing the cap and the college jacket? This is fairly easy to check in the game files and the answer is no, it has to be the actual hat item. Interestingly, the book says that you will take 5% less damage when wearing the hat and the jacket. This is kind of vague and could mean many different things, but what it means specifically is that wearing a ball cap will make you take 2.5% less damage, and wearing the college jacket will make you take 2.5% less damage. You don't have to be wearing them both, it's not 5% each, it's split between them. Dean Gilberry says, I know this is the wrong video to comment this on, but I just remembered, I've heard that if you break into locked containers with a pickaxe or auger that it actually makes the loot worse. Is this true? First of all, there is no wrong video to comment that on. I search for AskPrebuilt across my entire channel, so you can comment it wherever you want as long as it's on my channel. And as for your question, it's not true. I'm not sure where this old myth came from because there is absolutely no difference between an item unlocked with a pickaxe or auger, or lockpicks or time charges, or if you punch it open over the course of 7 weeks. The loot is based on your loot stage and absolutely nothing else, although most containers that spawn with locks actually do give you a 5% loot stage bonus when you're opening them, so that you'll get slightly better loot in them, but that is completely unaffected by the way that you open the container. Olympia O'Shale says, I know how you feel about 7 Days to Die, but would you recommend it? What are your feelings on the game? So while I really dislike playing the game myself at this point, I think it has a pretty big trend of taking 1 step forward and 2 steps back. From just an economic standpoint of you pay this much for the game and you get this much enjoyment out of it, I would say that if you get it for like 70% off, which they do like every couple of months, it's definitely worth the price. The game is going downhill in my opinion, but if you're just looking for something to play maybe with your friends, paying like $5 for probably about 100 hours of gameplay is definitely not a bad deal. And you may be one of the people who ends up putting like 5,000 hours into this game. I would really only recommend this game to my friends if they wanted to play with friends, and I would encourage them to kind of just move away from the game once you feel satisfied with it, because sticking around really does just make you gradually more and more annoyed, as it tends to get worse and the devs seem to put less and less care in each update. I know that's not the experience of everyone, there's plenty of people who've been around since Alpha 1 who absolutely love the game, but I would say a solid amount of people who have been around that long aren't happy with the game. 300 Java Triple Shot asks, where can I find the robotic turret schematic? Not the sledge, SMG or shotgun turret, or is it luck based to get from the Mopower electronics trucks and crates, because I want to try it out. The electronic trucks and crates are the best way to find it, yeah. In Alpha 21 you'll be looking for the new robotics crafting book, which will likely spawn in similar places, but you're going to be needing 39 of them to even craft a level 1 robotic turret, because finding one schematic wasn't annoying enough. You now need a minimum of 39. See what I mean about sticking around with this game being a bad idea? Andrew Quick says, do you think that throwing knives would be good to have as a branch of the knife tree? And the Ewok77 says a similar thing with, yes, I had this exact same javelin pike idea, but you expressed it so much better, referencing the last video where I explained what I think they could do with spears in the future. Check out that video after you're done with this one. And then they ask, what would you think of throwing knives added to your stealth/bleed build? Would be a really fun playstyle, I think. So I definitely don't think throwing knives would hurt the game at all. If they're low damage and low stamina, but they inflict similar bleeding to regular knives, that could be a really nice way to buff up knife builds, which do tend to struggle sometimes on harder difficulties if stealth goes wrong. And of course, if you're playing with feral sense on, you might be out of stealth a lot more than you would want to be. Don't get me wrong, knives are extremely powerful if you're good at stealth, but throwing knives could be a nice way to give agility players a quick, silent plan B if stealth goes wrong. Mikey asks, can you think of a better question for me to ask? Yes, as it happens I can. Prebuilt, will you be taking part in the Alpha 21 streamer weekend? No, because the Fun Pimps personally dislike me, because they took personal offense to me saying, quote, I am deeply sick of this game. Like, all my trashing of this game seems to have gone completely unnoticed, but they got super upset that I myself am burned out on this game. But whatever, I'll have access to it anyway. I'll be featured on other people's streams and my friends will get me the code to use for my own use anyway. I just won't be allowed to upload 7 Days to Die Alpha 21 videos for the weekend, which would be Saturday and Sunday, and I probably wouldn't be able to get a video on the Saturday anyway, so I'm really missing out on like one video and one stream. Big whoop, it really doesn't affect me that much. It's slightly disappointing, but who cares? They have every right to deny me early access. I mean, it's their game and they don't like what I say about it. Fair enough. I'd probably do the same. I did apologise for my comments and asked them to reconsider my application, and it seems they want to hold a grudge because they just ignored me and left me on red. It's been almost 2 weeks now. Now I'm just more motivated to become big enough and become completely unignorable so that they have to either go back on their decision, which makes them look stupid, or they will just look stupid anyway because they'll be denying a big creator access to their game. All because they can't take criticism or, more importantly, a joke. Either of those outcomes works perfectly in my favour, so I don't care. Moving on. Danny Frankie says, I know you favour the survival genre, but would you be open to creating a one-off episode of something like Phasmophobia? Like the rest of your videos, I believe it would be highly entertaining. Sure, although I think Phasmophobia would specifically be a bit of a bad idea for me, because I have a pretty numb response to horror. Like, jump scares and excessive body horror will get me, but even then my response would pretty much just be a flinch or a bit of a grimace, just like, ugh. Which isn't exactly entertaining in a video, and I refuse to play up my reactions because it feels fake, I'm not a good actor, and I really just don't have the energy to pretend like I give a fuck. So horror games don't really work on me, but maybe if I got some other people involved, we could have their reactions be more entertaining. But for other games, I could definitely do that. Let me know if there's any one-off games you want to see me play on the channel. I'll see if I can fit them in random places. Flug wants to know, will you do another series like you did in the past, Permafrost/Desert Ranger, if 7 Days to Die becomes fully launched? I'm not going to say absolutely not, because I don't speak for me in a few years, I barely speak for me in a few days, I'm a very bad planner, but the answer is probably not, because when 7 Days to Die fully releases, it's only really going to go downhill from there. They might release some DLC, which will give it some hype and some viewership back, but once they stop updating it, it's just going to be a matter of time before it dies off. It'll likely maintain a decent player base, but it probably won't be worth me doing much to cater to that remaining audience after, like, I would say a year of there being no updates. It'll die, and by then I hope to have expanded beyond being dependent on 7 Days to Die, which I'm trying to do anyway. I also really dislike Let's Play content specifically for 7 Days to Die. I don't like it, I don't like making it, and you can really tell in the videos, so probably going to avoid doing that. Raven wants to know, do you think the new art changes are going to have a negative effect on the player base, or is the overall community too horny to care? They're too horny to care. BIOME2 says, have you ever thought to play Project Zomboid? It seems pretty fun, but different from 7 Days to Die, and it looks harder. And Sissa Snake also says, you ever consider playing Project Zomboid? Good community, so it wouldn't hurt your channel, and it's a lot more fun than 7 Days to Die at this point. Yeah, I've been playing a lot of Project Zomboid recently, and I think it's going to be getting some videos once I've milked Alpha 21 dry, so please stand by for Project Zomboid content. I've been really enjoying how much sense the game makes. If you want a weapon, you just go to the police station and you find a gun. If you want food, you go to the food store. You want gas? You go to the gas station. 7 Days to Die takes a much more RNG approach to looting, and it has a much more arcade approach to survival, and I find it all a bit boring. But 7 Days to Die is almost like playing Fallout. If Fallout was absolutely terrible, had no story or interesting characters, and it was just zombies everywhere. That is literally what 7 Days to Die is. It's Fallout 4, but even worse. Who knew? Glitches asks, if they added VR support, would you play it? I would probably play it because it would be good to make videos on. I would be able to get 10 or 20 interesting videos about 7 Days to Die VR, and they would probably do pretty well, and it would be worth me investing in the VR equipment to do that. But I wouldn't really be personally interested in it. It would be more of a business decision because I don't want to play 7 Days to Die for my own enjoyment. I don't like VR. It's not something that's ever interested me, and playing 7 Days to Die in VR obviously also doesn't really interest me. But from a business standpoint, I'd certainly give it a go. Anyway, that's all this week's questions. If you want your question answered in the next video, be sure to put AskPrebuilt in the comment. Remember, this series relies on you to keep it going, so keep the questions coming. And remember to like and subscribe. Thank you to my channel members and patrons for making this video possible, and thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.